Hello again, this is Randall Meek with the Philippines Project. And today's story is about our landing in the Philippines and the process that it took to get from the plane through customs, through all the immigration and all of that stuff, and getting into the hotel. Because, frankly, this is a nightmare for a lot of people if you don't know what you're doing. And, even though I've been to the Philippines several times over the past several years, I've been coming here since 2007, about every other year. But just a few little things, that in this story that might be a benefit to you. So stay tuned, and here we go. Okay, uh, we got to Manila. We flew in, and I think we landed probably about around 5 o'clock in the evening. Um, we came in from Qatar. It was I think, a 9-hour flight, and actually the flight didn't really seem that long. We had just been on a 11-hour flight from Dallas to Qatar, and so for some reason the one from Qatar to the Philippines didn't seem that long. Having said that, if I can avoid it, I'll go through Hong Kong. That's my favorite. Uh, Taiwan is great. Japan is good. There's a lot of places with shorter flights, at least in the past, than going through Qatar. But it was available. That's why we took it. So we get into the Philippines and we land at Terminal 3, which I guess is their newest terminal. Please go down in the comments and correct me if I'm wrong. But I remember coming into Terminal 1 the first time, and then Terminal 2 was always used for like their domestic flights. So that kind of got me going on that. And then, I don't know, a couple times back when we came, there was this Terminal 3. And I was like, wow, okay. And it was nice and it was modern. And in fact, they really updated Terminal 2. And it's a lot nicer than it used to be. So, there's no danger there. But anyway, so we land and we deplane. And let me think here. And I may get the sequences wrong, but you go up and then you go. Everybody, it's funny. It's like pretty much everybody that is on your flight either has business here or is a returning Filipino or OFW, overseas Filipino worker, or they're citizens of the Philippines. They know the deal. They've been, I feel like I have some experience here. These people, man, they could close their eyes, and then, so I just kind of follow them, and I know where I'm going to. So it's a little bit of, everybody gets off the plane, and they're just, oh, I want to get to the front of the line, right? So, there's just like, it seemed like 300 of us. I don't even know how many's on a plane. Again, if you know how many's on a plane, I don't know. These planes have a lot of people. And so anyway, we get into a certain hallway, and there's people down at the end, and they're like, stop right here, and so everybody, all 300 of us, we have to stop, right? And it doesn't matter whether they have air conditioning or not, because, well, it does. It's obviously more comfortable, but it's still hot, and you've been in the same clothes for 24 hours, and I've been in Qatar. Man, I swear that place was like a convection oven. You step off the plane, my hat goes flying, and almost went in to the I don't know, the engine of the plane. The thing's sitting there spinning like this, and it flies off, and it's about a $30 hat. It's a nice Adidas hat. That's what I like to wear. And so I run down this is a side note here. I run down the plane steps, which is outside. I don't know why they don't have gates there. But anyway, I run down there and I make a left around the edge of the stairway, and of course I'm right in front of this big motor, this big jet engine, and it's still spinning somewhat. I'm not thinking. All I'm thinking is this is like 40-mile-an-hour winds, 50-mile-an-hour winds. I'm going to lose my hat forever. So I'm running around there hoping we don't get another big gust. And so I run around there, and I don't know, 2 or 3 employees hollered at me, "Stop, stop," and of course I did. I'm really not trying to disobey any rules here. I'm just concerned about my hat. That's all I was thinking about. So an employee grabbed it and he brought it to me, and I was thankful for that. So, you arrive in the Philippines with all the emotional baggage if you watch my last video about my flight to the Philippines, when you get to the Philippines, you are physically and mentally exhausted, and you're not even thinking straight sometimes. You're just doing the best you can to get through the process. So by the time we get into that hallway and people are like, "Stop," everybody has been through basically the same thing. And all we want to do is get through customs, get our baggage, get that taxi, and get the heck out of there and get in a nice, comfortable hotel room. I mean, that's all you can think, where you can stretch out. These legs that have been confined up under the seat for 24 to 34 hours. The only break we had was in Qatar, and that was nice enough. But man, are you ready to get out of that airport, right? So they waved us, they stopped, and we're all just kind of waiting, and then they're holding up some kind of sign and they're telling us something like, "Get your one pass ready, get your vaccination card, get your passports out, get your IDs out," all this stuff. And then they point us in the direction to go. So everybody trots over, and I'm going to get this wrong, but we went down this one way, and they let so many people out at a time. Well, this is the first time since I've ever been to the Philippines, and I guess I look 60, maybe. I don't know. I don't think of myself as looking like a senior citizen, but hey, I got the gray hair. I'll own it. So anyway, we get in there, and they said, "Hey, here, you get ahead. You're a senior citizen." Like, okay, I'm not going to take that as an insult at all. Man, they put us right up in the front of that whole group. We're sitting on the front chairs, and they've got these like 3 or 4 little kiosks that they built up with the plexiglass around them, and there's a person sitting in each one of them, and they're checking your documentation, right? So we wait, and there's one group ahead of us, and then I sit down, and we're waiting for that, and there's an Army guy, or he looks pretty official, and he would like, "Okay, this group of 4, this group of 4, this group of 4," and so we're waiting on our group of 4 that we can go up and replace the people that just got out, right? So we get up there, and I'm just so thankful that I've got my wife with me, because they're immediately going to understand her a lot better than they are me. And the language barrier is not that bad, but hey, it helps. Any little break you can get is fantastic. So we finally get up to the window. We both go up there together, and we've got paper documentation. I've got documentation on my phone. And we go through that process finally, and again, I'm carrying a backpack on my back, and probably a bag. She's got a purse and a backpack, and they're heavy. And again, you've got the weight of the last 30 hours on your back, literally. So the only thing you can think about is getting out. So finally get through that. Then we go up to the immigration window, and there's a bunch of people. This is just a big wad of people stop here. That big wad moves on. We come in and replace it, and it's just a process that you go through, and to get everybody. And I will have to say, of all the times I've been in the Philippines, considering what they had to go through and what they had to check, and all the extra staff and the extra personnel that they had, I think they did a fantastic job. But don't show up without proper documentation. Again, I recommend Jennifer Terry, her channel. She's a Filipina that gives up travel updates. And by all means, before you come here, don't come here unless you go thoroughly through some of her videos and you make that list and you get everything in order. Don't wait to the last. Don't think they're going to be, "Oh yeah, no, don't worry." No, they will stop you, and they should. So get your stuff together. And we did, and so we get through that. We get to the immigration line. We're in this group of people, and it's they'll have different lanes. They'll have OFWs. They'll have U.S. foreigners and stuff like that. And so anyway, we finally make it up there, and we get through. Very little. Again, I thought they were very friendly and very efficient. I had a great experience actually at the airport. If it wasn't for the cumulative effect of all the travel, it would have really just been a breeze. But they made it as good as they could. So we finally get through there, and then you've got all your little baggage stickers. You're going to go pick up your baggage, right? Well, I'm just a guy, Filipinos like to bring back boxes with them. And I used to see this, I'd see these little old ladies, and they'd have these brown boxes with the brown tape around them, and the Sharpie, they'd written the address on the box, and they're lugging this stuff through the airport. I'm thinking, I will never do that. I mean, talk about the hill you're going to die on, with your wife. No, we're not doing that. This luggage and this stuff is tough enough. Travel is tough enough. I am not dragging this stuff through an airport. So, when we pick up our luggage, of course, I've got 3 big balikbayan boxes, I didn't die on that hill, right? We had 3 balikbayan boxes. And if you don't know what that is, that's coming from abroad. I don't know that, it's called coming back or whatever. It's all the items you want for yourself, and it's what they call pasalubong. It is gifts for the family, and they don't care what they get. They just want something. So a lot of the stuff that we brought back was for our house, because even though we built the house, we had a lot of things that we needed once we got here. So, I gave in, I relented back in Missouri, and we got 3 boxes, and it seemed like it takes a Filipino about a month and a half to fill those boxes up properly, exactly the way they want them. The only thing I did mandate, I said, absolutely, without a doubt, I want the weights to be correct on these boxes, because there is nothing worse than standing in that checked baggage line when you're first trying to get on the plane, on your first origin, departure place, the airport. Nothing worse than having a box that's overweight, because you literally either pay a lot of money for the extra weight, and I mean, they don't just mess around, they will charge you, or you open up that box and you put it in another box that weighs less. So absolutely get your weights right on these boxes. If you're newly married to a Filipina and you've never been through this before, the weights are incredibly important. So, and there's usually always somebody in the airport that's wanting to help you, right? You'll be standing there by that big turnbuckle or whatever it's called, turntable, where all the luggage comes out, and there's always somebody. These people, if they're like a guard, police, security guard type person, or whether they're an airport employee, I'm telling you what, they don't make much money. So if they can scare up a tip somewhere, they're going to try to do that. And I have no problem with that. If you knew what these people worked long hours for every day, you would feel a little bit different about, all they want's $1 or something like that. I mean, come on. So anyway, this guy, I've got these 3 big boxes, a huge suitcase, and it's just me. And my wife, she's not that big, so I don't count on her for hardly anything. Well, this guy, he's helping us. I slip him, $1 or $2. I can't remember what it was. I thought, good, problem solved. I'm not going to have to manhandle this stuff. Because, guys, I mean, I'm 60 years old again. I'm overweight. That's one reason you see these guys. You see these guys in this frame right here that you've got. I've got about an extra 25, 30 pounds that I need to get rid of. And being in a hot place and already being exhausted, probably dehydrated, and then you've got to start wrestling these big 100-pound boxes, whatever they are. They're probably 50. They feel like 100. And they got rope wrapped around them. That's your only handle to get them off. So we're standing there, and this guy comes over, and he's like, just get back. Just I'll handle this. You point it out, I will get it. I thought, great, and that's just the way they are. That's the hospitality of the Philippines. yeah, he's making a buck. Uh, Hopefully he makes a lot more than that, but the pay is not great. So I'm just going to let him do it, and he does. He gets us at one of these push carts, and so we've got 3 boxes. He loaded them all on there. He loaded 300. Put the big check-in bag of ours, big brand new one we bought in St. Louis, and then I throw my backpack. She throws her backpack on there, and maybe another bag. And the guy, he walks off. He's done his deal, he didn't promise he was going to take us all the way to the hotel. So anyway, I get behind that. And you know how you got to squeeze the handles together before you can push the cart. Well, I'm no dummy. I've been through this before. But I squeeze those handles and I start pushing. Well, it doesn't go anywhere. Well, it goes to the right only. Like, what the heck? So I put a little more behind the right side, and I just manhandle that thing, and I push it to the left, and it just starts pushing, starts going kind of in a straight line. But, you know how them carts are. They're not that bad. I mean, they move quite a bit of weight fairly easily. Now, if you have to go up a hill or something like that, that would be tough. But yeah, I mean, I expected it to be a lot easier than it was. And of course, by the time we went through all this process, you feel like, I call it being pulled through a knothole backwards. I mean, by the time you get to this point, and you're working to get this luggage and these boxes out of the terminal, I mean, emotionally, your fuse is, about this long. Your wife's fuse is about that long, and any little problem that can come up, combined with the heat, does not bode well for a relationship. I'll tell you that. Being married to a Filipina is a great thing, but it does not mean that you're not going to have some issues from time to time. So, I'm pushing that thing, and I start to, I'm like, man, this thing's heavy. This is ridiculous, And my wife, she just thinks I'm just being a big baby, And because, hey, we're all prone to that sometimes. That was not the case this time. She did not understand what was going on. And I just try to gut it out. I'm just trying to push it again. And we got to the baggage claim. And, they can take your little tickets or whatever. They check your baggage and you're ready to go outside to the taxi stand. But by this time, man, I was already huffing and puffing. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm 60 years old. I've told you that before, right? I've got some health issues. I'm, totally exhausted after a 34-hour flight of travel. I'm hitting this hot, humid, diesel smoke-infused air as we break through the doors. And this cart is not wanting to go. And I'm complaining about it. And finally, my wife said, I can't believe you're being like this. Why are you always like this? Every time we got, if you're married, you've been through this scenario before. So it's great to laugh about it looking back. Finally, I just backed up. I said, I can't explain this to her. Me talking is not doing any good. I said, okay, if it's so easy, you push it. Well, she was mad, So she grabs hold of that thing and she pushes it. It won't move. I said, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I know. And so she finally understood what was going on. And by that time, if you're 6 feet outside those glass sliding doors and you're trying to find the taxi stand and get to the taxi location where you can wait for 45 minutes on the taxi at 5 o'clock is not a great time to land in Manila. I will remember that. So anyway, I finally got it down close enough to this row of seats where we had to snake our cart around through there. I said, I am not going to push this cart through there because you had tight turns this way and that way, and I was at my wit's end physically and mentally and emotionally and every other way. So I went back in and I just grabbed the cart and I pulled it right next to the one, and she said, what are you doing? I said, I'm getting these things off of here. So I picked up every bag, every box, and put on that other cart. Then we were kind of good to go, it would at least roll. But we were in 95-degree weather, and humidity was oppressive. And then you're still in the Philippines, and you know everything don't always go right. So basically, the only thing that went wrong from that point was, our 40 to 45 minute wait standing up. I was dehydrated. I wasn't feeling good. I was a little bit weak, kind of, just exhausted, and you just really feel beat up and defeated at this point. But realize that can almost be a normal thing sometimes here. Once you get where you're going, it's going to be fine. But it is a heck of a process landing, especially if you've got the extra luggage. If we wouldn't have had that cart that had the wheels that were trying to go two different directions at one time, it wouldn't have been that bad. But we sat there or stood there. I refused to sit down, because if I sat down, all the breeze was gone. At least when I stood up, some breeze was flying by. And my wife said, "Why don't you sit down?" I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm already soaking wet. I'm going to stand here, and we're going to see this thing through." So anyway, we waited. We'd push our cart ahead maybe 5 feet once somebody got a taxi. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, these taxis are coming so slow." One would come through, somebody'd get on, we'd wait 10 minutes, somebody else would, and we had like 20 people that we were waiting ahead of us. And again, if you'd land at 10 o'clock at night, it'd be a whole different story as far as the taxis go. So I'm thinking the whole time, man, we got to get a big taxi because we got a lot of stuff. And long story short, we got our boxes, a couple of boxes in the back. We got it all loaded up, and it was funny because this guy, his taxi driver, he'd opened up his trunk, and it fell down a couple of times. We're trying to get everybody in, try to find out what it's going to be, and I'm going to do a whole other video on how to properly negotiate with the taxi driver. And it's not really too much negotiation, not like it used to be. It used to be every time, but the pitfalls, what you got to watch for when you get a taxi. This guy, he was jacking around, he's running around, and his lid on his truck kept falling down. And then the police guy would come by, "Hey, you open it back up." And he just had a weak, had no spring or whatever in there. And so the last time he lifted up his trunk, and he reached in the back, he had this specific tool that was going to solve all his trunk closing problems, right? It was a piece of rubber hose about this long. He pulled it out, propped that dude up, stuck it up there. It's things like that, that little rubber hose, I just had to laugh, that's what he did instead of fixing his car. And it probably wasn't his car anyway. He was probably driving it for somebody else. And just little things like that. And one more little thing, I'm 23 minutes in. One more little thing. I had reservations already, but it was at the Kabayan Motel, and I've stayed there a couple of times. And it's basically Filipino standards. It's a little better than Filipino standards. Not a place I want to stay at for a couple of weeks. But you can get a good night's rest in there, and you get up and they have a Filipino-style breakfast, which is great. You kind of been homesick for a while. And so, it's a good thing. And then when you get ready to leave, they have a shuttle. They'll secure the taxis for you, and they'll put you on a schedule. You show up on time. They got somebody there to help you with your everything, and they do a great job. So we get in the taxi, and of course you always develop that little relationship with your taxi driver, right? And it's a good thing to do. Talk to him, and I'm watching the meter go, and so he starts, "Where are you going?" I said, "Well, Kabayan." "Oh, that's far away. I know of a good place, And I said, "Oh yeah, where's that at?" "Oh, it's whatever," he said. I have no idea, but it was supposed to be close, and it was about probably 10 minutes away from the airport, and we had to leave early because we had like a 5 o'clock flight to Iloilo. So I'm thinking, yeah, maybe it's a good idea to get a place close to the airport. So he said, "Oh, it's a great place. I take all my foreign passengers there." He assured me it was fantastic, and I don't remember the name of the hotel, and I wouldn't tell you if I did, because I'm not trying to slam the hotel at all. But what I am trying to say, beware of taxi drivers' instructions and recommendations. Now, the guy's not being dishonest. That's not what this is about. This guy, like everybody else, is trying to make a little bit extra money in the Philippines. And he's got, for his recommendation, he's already got the fixes already in. He's got to hook up. He's going to get a little bit of peso, a few pesos for dropping that person off at that particular hotel that he recommends. Well, we got there, and it was okay. It was just okay, but I knew what to expect at the Cabayan. I know exactly the whole deal, and it's not in a very good place, but the hotel is pretty nice. There's a Jollibee real close. There's a Chow King real close. You just don't want to be out at night. But anyway, beware of go ahead and get your hotel set up, and that's about all I've got. Trust your instincts on the hotel. Go ahead and pay your money, and you'll have a good trip in the Philippines. So that's all I've got. Until next time, this is Randall Meek with the Philippines Project. Like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you'll be reminded of the videos as they come up. You don't have to watch it right then, but you'll know, hey, there's another video I need to watch. Like, subscribe, and comment. Have a great day.